Mr. Papandreou, welcome. It is my great pleasure to conduct an interview with you after 26 years, as far as you remember.
When I was Minister of Education many years ago, yes.
Many years ago in Athens, in your office. In that period, you had one idea that the Balkan countries should not teach unilaterally history which creates bad feelings toward the neighbors, but that the Balkan countries work for one mutual accepted history, so we should develop friendship among each other. What's happening with that idea? Some kind of some parts of that idea, my opinion was incorporated in a Prespa agreement.
Yes, well, as you remember very well, Mr. Kirovsky, it was my pleasure to be with you, and of course being in North Macedonia. I first came to this country many years ago when I was traveling up to Northern Europe, and I went from Florina to Monastiri to Bitola and then up to Skopje. And I remember a very nice scene of sitting in the train station, and there was a live band playing traditional music, and I thought it was so beautiful. And I didn't know about this music. Of course, it was similar also with differences, but it was our Balkan music, so I could understand it. But I said there are so many different, beautiful parts of the Balkans. We have such a rich culture, such a rich history. We have to learn from it. We have to learn from our conflicts. We have to learn from our wounds, but we should not reproduce them again. We should not open them again. We don't forget this history, and we should learn to work together. So I have said in many ways, history books also, they should be telling the truth, or maybe the many different sides of these problems we have had. But in a way so that we can go beyond that. We can learn from them and be better societies, better people, better Balkan family. Because yes, I worked with UNESCO then, and we found that there were many similarities in the books, that everybody was accusing somebody else for all the wrongs of the country. So, and I think one thing we need to really build on is we have to have our voice, we the people of Balkans. And this has been a dream, not my dream, but the dream of our peoples from many years ago. Even, for example, Irigas Fereos, his dream was the unity of the Balkan people, and very democratic, of course, in democratic countries. Well, this could happen within the context of this European family, that we can be together, we can have our special identities, but also work together, but also have a common voice. I have lived in Northern Europe, in a Nordic country, in Sweden, and they've had their conflicts between themselves centuries ago, of course, but now they work together, and they have a common voice inside the European Union to promote common interests, from infrastructure to, renewable energy to transportation, to different things. So if we have a voice, I think we can be a very strong power within the European Union. But that, of course, means that we all do become part of this family. So I'm happy now that this door has opened, but I am here in Skopje, in North Macedonia, as an initiative to call upon all the countries, all the members of the European Union. It is very important in the next European Council that we have a clear sign that negotiations are beginning for North Macedonia and for Albania. A sign that the European prospect is there. That is, I think, very important for the region, for your country, for the countries, for both countries, but of course for the whole region, to move forward on this. And that I think is crucial, to open up the possibilities that we see each other as part of a common family with common values.
And did you pass this message to politicians? You had today official meetings with Minister Dimitrov and other political officials about your initiative?
Absolutely, and this was welcomed by them, of course. This government has worked very hard to show that it is on a European track. to make the necessary reforms. And sometimes we talk about the reforms necessary to become part of the European Union, and sometimes we will think of them as something that is foreign to us, that is imposed as. Actually, what we should see it as an opportunity to better our societies, to make sure that these European values are values that protect everyone in our society. They protect minorities, they protect each individual, they protect the rule of law, they protect transparency, democracy, and of course they give the opportunity for investment, for funding, and for more prosperity, more of a, if you like, a social contract to help people. And of course, this is important because then we are aligned in values also, in working together in good neighborliness, and that is of great importance. I always feel that there is so much potential. Of course, bilateral relations, Greece and North Macedonia, but there is so much potential when we work together in this region. We have smart people, we have a smart youth. Unluckily, many of them have left to other parts of Europe. We need to bring them back or give them opportunities to come back. But if we can work together, we have great potential, creativity, our experiences, good or bad, and we have a beautiful area, the Balkans, which I think also we understand even more sometimes how important this European project is, because we have gone through conflicts, recent conflicts, of course, in former Yugoslavia, and this, of course, has made us really feel that the European family is of great importance. So we actually can be at the spearhead of Europe. Europe is going also through its own transformation, sometimes crisis too, where its identity, its new identity, what is its role in the world. I think we can contribute to this, and I think our voice should not be just, we want to be part of this family, but we together will contribute to this great project.
Clearly you are passing a very strong and a nice message for the region, but I have to ask one small clarification. Is this message coming from Mr. Papandreou as individual, as part of Kinal, or as a leader of Socialistic Internaționala, or all together?
Altogether. Actually, it's a message. First of all, it's a message. I think this government here is clearly has the same message, calling upon fellow Europeans. But coming from a country that has been in the European Union for so many years, we are one of the oldest members of the European Union. Coming from a country which has worked hard to develop a strategy for the Western Balkans. In 2003, we were in the presidency. I was foreign minister, Mr. Simitis was prime minister. We were in the presidency of the European Union. We then were able to convince all of Europe then, all member states in the European Council in Thessaloniki, to agree that the Western Balkans have a clear prospect of being part of the European Union, the European family. So this, based on that, I am here, of course, as a member of the Greek Parliament. I am here as a former Prime Minister. I'm here as head of Socialist International. Of course, from my party also, from Κίνημα Αλλαγής, Kinal. But I am also making this call not to our fellow neighbors here in North Macedonia, but which I think the wider majority here is very much in favor of becoming part of this family. But my call is also to our members in the European Union, to all members. We expect, as a country of the European Union, that have gone through also our difficult crises and had to adapt and make changes and so on, that they should respect the fact that this country is making important efforts for reforms and changes, and that this has to be rewarded. So my call is to countries like France, for example, but others also, that it's important for our region, it's important for our stability, it's important for peace, it's important for growth. It's important for all of us here that the negotiations begin, and of course, whoever is doing well and is a good student will do well also in quick advancement into the European Union.
This kind of phenomena we first see actually last year when in the Minister Council in European Union, the Greek Minister of Foreign Affairs was pressing that North Macedonia should receive opening of negotiations. I'm talking this in regard that in the past, when we had the problems for the name issue, Greek, we were used that Greek is vetoing the process, and now Greek is became one of the biggest supporters, and now you're making the same. But I'm still I couldn't, and our society couldn't understand why both societies and both states needed 30 years to resolve this issue.
Yeah.
You are part of that process, so you know. I'm not telling it was not difficult to solve, but when people are truly have the will to solve something, Mr. Tsipras and Mr. Zaev show that it can be done.
Yes. Well, there were efforts many times, many attempts to solve this issue, to go beyond this difficulty. And sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it happens to be the stars are not aligned, at the right place. The people can play a role, of course. I worked as foreign minister with Mr. Georgievsky in the past. You, of course, know him, and he seemed to be quite open to looking for an understanding from both sides so we can try to move forward. However, of course, there were many internal problems then, basically a civil war here in North Macedonia, so it was very difficult to move forward. With Mr. Gruevski, I met him I think 13 times in 2 years, quite a few times, to really look to see can we solve this problem. Of course, I expected that he had understanding of our side also, and I didn't see that he really had that will to move forward, and therefore your country was kept sort of in this limbo situation, of course, which was something we did not want as a strategy, but we had to solve this problem first. And of course then it did happen that both sides were able to find a compromise, and these are not easy, these compromises. You will find on both sides people who will be critical and say, we should have done this, we should have done that, and so on.
It could be better.
It could be better on this, it could be better on that. Everybody will say that. But I think we need to now build on this momentum, build for the future. Already there have been some very positive developments, more commerce. I hear maybe 15-20% commerce in just a few, these months now that really have passed. There is much more interest in investment and economic development. Energy is another area. And also another very important and sensitive area is, of course, the area of defense. The fact that as friends now, close friends, and we don't have these past problems, now the Greek Air Force is also protecting the skies of North Macedonia. And, some years ago we could never think that this would be. We imagined it. I remember talking to many of the leaders here and saying, yes, we can work together in many areas, even in security areas, even in defense areas. But now it's a reality, and I think this is very important. So, yes, history will judge what we did, but let's make history ourselves by using this opportunity to move forward. And I think we can be an example, Greece and North Macedonia, of two countries that really can work closely together and have very important results for both our peoples.
The perspective is very nice, actually, but from the other side, the government which signed the Prespa agreement from Greek side is now in opposition, and the right-wing government came into power, Nea Demokratia in Greece. It could easily happen after 2 months also in North Macedonia, that the right-wing party, which has many objections to the Prespa agreement, so do you think it can be really jeopardized by the right governments in Athens and Skopje, or you think that it is already resolved issue?
From the Greek side, as you may have seen, and I'm not in the government, I'm in the opposition, but from the Greek side, the party that now is in government, Prime Minister Mitsotakis and Minister Dendias of Foreign Affairs, I think they have made clear statements that they respect the agreement, the Prespas agreement, despite the fact that they had their opposition, they had their criticism and opposition to the Prespas agreement. They say they will respect this international agreement. And not only that, but I have talked to Mr. Dendias also before coming to this trip, and he repeated, he has said this publicly, the desire that we see that North Macedonia does get a green light for opening up accession talks. So from the Greek side, I will say that we will stick to the signatures, which is what normal practice should be. If one government, we have a continuation of governments, we should not change from one government to another. And I would hope that the same would be. Of course, I am, as a socialist, here also to support my fellow social democrats here and the party of Zoran Zaev. But I think that if a government does not abide by this, one hopes that it's binding for all of us. This will, of course, create problems for the country. It will create problems in the accession process. It will lose an opportunity again. Too many years have passed. North Macedonia has waited many years for this moment, and I think it is important that the government of North Macedonia is one that has the will to move forward and make the necessary changes. Because in the end, the basic changes will not be around the Prespas. I mean, that's done. It will be around what changes will happen in the society, and that is, of course, the positive things of being part of this European process. There will be important changes which will be for the benefit of the citizens of North Macedonia.
Mr. Papandreou, I know that you are very busy. Thank you very much for your time and for this opportunity to have an interview with you. It was my real pleasure.
Thank you, Mr. Kirovski. It's always a pleasure to be here in Skopje, and I do hope to be able to come more often. I've been here many times, of course, but I see that, of course, your country is on a new path now, and I hope this continues, and I hope we can develop more and more friendships between our two peoples.
Thank you.
Thank you.